In November 2019, I published a video titled Fake Shredders, Hot Take. Adam Neely recently used a few short clips from that video in his 52-minute video essay titled The Ethics of Fake Guitar. I'd like to provide some clarity and some context around the clips he has chosen to use from my video, and I'll just briefly talk about fake guitar playing in 2025. I thought I was done with this 5.5 years ago when I did my initial video, but I've still got some thoughts and feelings around it that I think a lot of people have been waiting to hear. Let's begin with Adam's video though. Firstly, the supercut that manages to get my giant forehead and monobrow and Bernie Sanders into the same clip is some pretty amazing editing. So well done, Adam. That is very, very impressive. You were able to make that work. The first clip that you use from my video, though, is in fact me quoting another guitar player. And I think it's really important to clarify that. So I start out my video by reading out an excerpt of a Facebook post by Tom Fountainhead. So the short clip of me speaking in Adam's video, they're in fact Tom's words. Now, I largely agree with Tom's thoughts and opinions on this topic, but I think it's really important to just note that in Adam's video, I'm quoting Tom. The second clip that Adam uses is in relation to guitar playing not being a competition, not being a sport. So by definition, there can't be cheating. Now, the whole point of me bringing that up in my video was essentially to say, look, if guitar playing is not a competition and it's not a sport and inherently there's no cheating, then if you are choosing to edit or enhance musical performances, then you should just be open and honest about it. And your audience will value that in turn. I think that's really important that I kind of use that to build up to the point. I also make a few points where I'm talking about it being largely detrimental, not only to the larger guitar community, but to the individuals who are doing this. Now, Adam kind of waves his hands around at this, like how are we going to find data on whether a kid watching fake guitar playing is going to be harmed in some way. And he talks about Plato and Plato's Republic. Now, there's quite a lot of literature in sociology and psychology looking at related phenomena here. And this is something that I really wish Adam explored in his video. I think it would have made a lot more sense in context than quoting Plato. And, if you want to hear some really spicy Plato quotes, go and read what Plato thought about, say, the Mixolydian scale and how it related to masculinity. That's some top tier stuff. But I digress. Looking at things like body image in teenagers, even body image in adult males who are working out and trying to compare their natural bodybuilding progress to fake natties who are using gear but saying they're not using gear, has some pretty well documented negative psychological effects. And I don't think it is too much of a stretch to say that a similar thing is probably going to happen when people like Giacomo Tura are presenting their performances not only as being live and unedited, but being their sincere expression. He was stealing other people's guitar solo, basically rolling in the clout, and the people who performed those initially weren't seeing any of that. And Adam's also kind of apologetic around the Alex Hutchings clip, where it's like, well, Alex Hutchings clip says, some George Benson style playing. So who did Giacomo steal from? From Alex or from George? He stole from Alex. It's really, really obvious. He recreated the exact same performance. And one thing about especially jazz, blues, and rock is that incorporating quotes and inspiration into your playing can still be considered sincere expression. And that's just something I think I've found that I really value since I did my video 5.5 years ago. And I've thought about this more and more, and we've continued to see scandals like what's happened with Giacomo, is that at the end of the day, you have to live with yourself. And if you're interested in musical expression, and you're interested in having an audience and an audience that trusts you, it's just in your best interest to be open, honest, and transparent. The initial uptick in popularity and clout may not be as much, but in the long run, your audience will really value what you do. They will trust you, and you can't go and buy that trust. I think this plays into the commodification of not just music, but everything else. And Giacomo Tura really is a symptom of this trend that's been happening. And if you see Adam's video where he kind of waves some of that, well, yeah, he's taken somebody's guitar solo, but, other people have done this. And there's over 100 years of precedent of, faked musical performances. The reason people are super pissed off about someone like Giacomo is that people have been railing against this for a long time. Like, since those initial fake performances, this keeps coming around. There's a reason that people really get angry about it, because it's not just dishonest for something like music. There is so much dishonesty and a lack of transparency. And, there's this idea of a post-truth world, where everything's relative and, yeah, I guess there's maybe something bad about it, but, Led Zeppelin stole a few riffs as well. I think it's pretty clear most people look at what happened with Giacomo Tura and they go, scumbag, that's not something you should do. And I think it just deserves to be said out loud, and people should say that. That's totally fine. So yeah, with the whole fake guitar playing thing, I think ultimately you do yourself a disservice. You can get so much more out of music by just being yourself, being sincere. You could make a 52-minute apologetic video about, well, really, what if you pretended to be somebody else? Would that maybe be better? I mean, Adam even quotes like the noble lie from Plato in there. And I don't think that's presented in a particularly nuanced fashion or anything like that. Like I said, I would have much rather seen him talk to a psychologist about the effects and the harms that could happen when it comes to, teenagers especially watching this stuff on Instagram, on YouTube, seeing these performances that are enhanced but being sold off as non-enhanced, in the same way that they would look at somebody who's using performance-enhancing drugs to gain muscle, or who are smashing trend to get super big, and just being like, nah, man, I'm a natural bodybuilder. It's just hard work and discipline. So yeah, in Adam's exploration of genres as well, he talks about one of the core values of like rock and instrumental guitar being athleticism. I'd probably disagree with that and just say it's sincerity. It's, if you watch Yngwie Malmsteen is just like one of the most sincere guitar players you will ever see. Whether you like him or not, he's just raw dogging that Strat through a Marshall the way that he sees fit. He is trying to play to the best of his ability. He's trying to put on an amazing show, but he's not enhancing any of it with post-production in a live setting. Like, the guy can play, and there's a reason he's been so inspirational. When you watch a clip of Gary Moore or Stevie Ray Vaughan, and I'm not going to put myself in that same category, but the reason I make terrible guitar faces when I play guitar is probably from watching those guys. The idea is it's like that sincere expression is like you're feeling it. You're actually playing the guitar and you're getting emotionally invested in it. I think that's something that I really value with music. And, I don't want to watch a bunch of fake musical orgasms. I want to watch real ones. That's what's important to me. So yeah, there's my thoughts on this topic. I just really wanted to clarify the short clips that you see in Adam's video. A lot of people have gone and watched that, and will probably continue to watch that. There's a bunch of other people who have made clips about Giacomo and fake guitar playing as well. But seeing as I was in Adam's video, I figured I would just clarify the context around the quotes that he has used. And yeah, my opinion around this really hasn't changed that much at the end of the day. I'd love to hear from all of you in the comments section below. If you are going to comment on this, just, be good to one another in there, be respectful, and I'm sure everybody will take the time to read things and, absorb all of this. It's a conversation that has to happen, and it probably has to happen more on here. And fundamentally, if you're somebody who's making art, you're making music, then your audience is really important. And at the end of the day, the audience that's important does care. And getting your audience to trust you takes time, takes a lot of effort, all these things that we've talked about valuing. So yeah, I think I'm just going to leave it at that. I'll put this clip up. You can comment on it if you like. You can show it to your mates, or you can just make fun of my monobrow. Why not? I can take the heat. That's totally fine. If you feel like you've had a bad day and you just want to lash out at somebody, do it to my eyebrows instead of anybody else. And aside from that, have a great day. I'll see you on the next one.